It's time to hear it from Harlan. Utah Athletics Director Mark Harlan brings you behind the scenes of college and Utah athletics.
Welcome to the early edition of the Hear It From Harlan podcast, along with Utah Director of Athletics Mark Harlan. I'm Mike Lagashow. Coming up on the show, we'll recap a busy month of October, bowl-eligible time for the football team, and they are also still in the hunt in the Pac-12 South, volleyball and cross-country, making a push towards NCAAs. We'll also look ahead to the start of the basketball season this week. Some new initiatives in place to improve the fan experience for our basketball games as well as football, the final two games of the season. And also, Mark will go one-on-one with women's soccer player Hailey Skolmosky. That's all coming up on the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Well, Mark, it's been a busy month of October. Welcome. Thanks for making some time to be with us today.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Well, it's always hard when you have things happen like we had with Lauren McCluskey's death back on October 22nd. Just a terrific young woman, as we found more and more out about her in the days after her untimely death. And I think, Mark, as someone who works in athletics, speaking for myself as well as others, you kind of gear yourself for games and competitions and wins and losses. But when stuff like that happens, is you just really switch what you do and transform into a different mode of operation. I know it's been tough for you and for this department. I guess my first question is, how's everyone coping at this point, and how's everyone doing a few weeks away from that event?
Well, Mike, thank you. I appreciate you asking, and you know, it's been a very challenging period of time. Nothing comparison to what the family is going through in terms of their grieving process, and just a wonderful family that I've had a chance to visit with in this process. Lauren was a really, really special kid, and great student, tremendously competitive. You know, and spending a lot of time with the track team, you know, the stories I've heard about, you know, her trying to one-up folks all the time in the weight room or on the track. You know, it's just a really sad thing that happened, and words really don't do much. I will say that been very proud of the university's overwhelming responsive support to not only Lauren's family, but to all the student athletes here. You know, we pride ourselves in family being one of our cultural differences that makes us a special place. And, you know, when something like this happens to your family, it's very difficult, but then you lean on family. And we've been talking a lot about, we're not 20 teams here. We are one team. We are one Utah. And so we're just leaning on each other. And with keen eye and care for our track and field athletes, Lauren was a senior. She had been here for a long time and knew a lot of those kids very, very well, and our coaching staff. So very honored this week. I'll fly up to Pullman and spend time with her family at the memorial service, along with some members of our coaching staff and some student athletes and others, and looking forward to, of course, the president as well, and looking forward to celebrating her life this weekend. But you know, we do need to continue to move forward. That would be Lauren's expectations of us.
Yep.
And certainly that's the family's desire to make sure that we continue to move forward. And to that end, our kids have just continued to go to class, keep focused on the thing being the thing, and doing the right things, and also, you know, getting out there and competing again. So very tragic period. We're going to, continue to memorialize her in all ways possible, and whether that's helmet decals or wristbands or some of the things that the Muss will be doing this weekend at the game. I would like to take this moment to thank the University of Oregon, who will be wearing decals this weekend in support of her, and certainly UCLA program, who did a moment of silence before the football game there a week or so ago. So a lot of coming together, a lot of support from all over the country, but we're going to continue to work through it.
I talked to Cal Kepler this morning. He said the support's been unbelievable from colleges in state wearing red. He told me P.J. Flett, the Minnesota head football coach, his theme has been roll the boat. He sent a signed oar and said, put this wherever you're honoring Lauren. I want to be a part of it. So just amazing the outreach we've seen. And, for Lauren, it seemed like she was really content to just be part of the fabric, Mark. And until some people like that are gone, you don't realize how important her thread is, because they just blend in so many areas. And her true beauty wasn't realized until she was no longer a part of the fabric here. And just a tragic situation. There's a memorial fund set up by the university. You can go to utahutes.com/Lauren. That's LAUREN to contribute to that scholarship fund for athletes in track and field and cross country. You mentioned her memorial service this Sunday in Pullman. Just a sad situation, but a tremendous person, and we'll continue to honor her throughout the fall, Mark. And as she would want, the games, had to continue. That's kind of where we go next, it's never easy, but she was competitive, and that's how she would want it. And fall sports have rolled on. Her cross-country team, in fact, is competing in regionals for NCAAs this Friday in Provo. And let's get some football talk, Mark. The football team, a great month of October, 4 straight wins to become bowl eligible, and they're still in contention. The Pac-12 South, they got a fun month of November ahead of them with some big games coming up.
Well, they just have done a really nice job, obviously, in that 4-game winning streak of doing a lot of things great. As Kyle always says, the 3 categories: defense, special teams, and offense. And, we've seen record numbers and, all the points that we've scored. Now, obviously, the other teams that we play are good too. And we ran into a really, really tough Sun Devil team last weekend. Seeing Tyler get hurt just broke my heart because he's done such a great job. He's such a great young man. And so it was really, really hard to watch that happen. I think people that are close to the program know it's at the end of the day, it's about these student athletes. And anytime anybody gets hurt, it just stinks. It just, but he's such a great leader, and he knows he's going to have to really help out Jason get ready to play, and Jason will be ready to go. But here we go, right? We're coming home, and a really good Oregon team coming in. It feels like we have not played in Rice Eccles forever, with these back-to-back road trips. So it'll be great to be home. I know the guys are really excited about it. But we are tied for first in the conference. We've got 2 games left to play in the conference, and we're going to do everything we can to capture this South crown. As
Coach Witt always says, next man up. That's just part of sports. That's part of football. And Tyler was one of those guys who laid it all out there. I mean, he was trying to extend the play and got hurt. But
that's a great point. I mean, that's exactly what he's trying to do, and he's been doing that all season. And so, at this time, unfortunately, he got hurt in that play. But that's who he is, and that's how he'll be when he gets back. And he will get back. We've got a great medical staff here. They'll get him back and ready to go. And who knows, maybe if it's a bowl game later in the deal, we might see him again. But most likely he's done for the year. But he'll be with us, and he'll be all around and be very close because that's the kind of kid he is.
And the good news is what he did the first few months put us in position for a good November. There's 6 wins already on the books. You've got 2 big home games with Oregon coming up, BYU end of the month, also a road game in Boulder against Colorado. And you'd still, as you said, have a chance to win the Pac-12 South and go to their first ever Pac-12 championship game. So a lot to play for in the next 3 games.
That's correct. And again, I just would say we need everybody,
yes,
as they always are at the football stadium, but we need everybody on their feet going nuts. Let's create the best environment we possibly can to make it miserable for our remaining teams coming into Rice Eccles.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, volleyball, pretty good month of October. Their RPI strong in the mid-40s. The record 13-12 overall, but they've had a tough schedule as always in the Pac-12 mark. They go 7-8 deep in that league for NCAA bids. They've got some home games coming up this weekend. The Arizona schools coming in, and they're down to just 6 matches left. But Beth Lanier, despite having a young team and losing Berkeley Oblad, their senior middle blocker earlier in the year, she's had a pretty good run this season with this group.
She really has. I mean, they just got better as the weeks went on. And as you said, there's no more competitive conference in volleyball in this country than the Pac-12. And so, we've had tremendous matches. We've had some tremendous wins. We swept the Washington schools, Washington School, for example. And so you're right. They're right there. Their RPI is right there. If the season was in today, I think we're in. Mm-hmm. But as you said, there's a lot of games left to play. But to watch this team mature, to watch this team work, go on the road. They got a split last weekend, and now it's go time for them, and you can see it in their eyes. They smell that postseason. They just got to finish it.
All right. Also, women's soccer, unfortunately, they are done for the season. They went 6-2-1, Mark. Their last 9 games, they had just a rough start. A lot of late-game goals surrendered that cost them some points early in the year, but really a good year overall for Utah soccer. They finished 4th in the Pac-12, and unfortunately for Rich and crew, it's done, but a good, strong finish for that crew.
Great finish. That's what you ask of your student athletes, to finish strong. They really took that definition to a new level.
Yep.
Because you're right. They lost so many close games, more than I can ever remember in all the soccer teams I've been around. But they weren't just 6-2 during that period against some weak teams, some of the best teams in the country, again, in the competitive Pac-12. I was disappointed they didn't get in yesterday. I really felt like they had done enough. Got great respect for the committee. Those are hard choices, but I was disappointed. I really felt like our body of work down the stretch, which suggests, I can tell you this: if we got into that tournament, we would have caused some damage.
Oh yeah.
But a good young team. I knew it was young when we had senior day a few weeks ago, and there was only 4 of them out there.
Yep.
So that's a sign of what's to come. But I give Rich a lot of credit for really keeping that team together when some teams might not. when you have that kind of a start and just have such a fantastic finish.
Yeah, they did not quit. In fact, last Friday they went on the road to Boulder, beat Colorado, a top 25 team, just to close it out. That just showed right there they were focused to the final game.
And in some ways, maybe that's a really great way, to have a big win in a place you haven't won before. And what a nice way to send the seniors out. But again, this athletic director is a little disappointed. They didn't make the tournament, but they'll be ready to roll next fall.
All right, bright days ahead of very young programs, you said, this year with a lot of players coming back next year. Well, speaking of soccer, when we come back, Mark will go one-on-one with one of the departing seniors for soccer, Hailey Skolmosky. That's when we continue with the Hear from Harlan podcast in just a moment.
Now, it's time for Utah's head man to catch up with one of our star student athletes. Once again, here's Ute Athletics Director Mark Harlan on the Hear It From Harlan podcast.
Well, Hailey, thanks for coming in today. Really, really appreciate it. It gives us a chance to learn more about you and talk about the season that just completed. And I know yesterday was tough news. The team didn't make the tournament, which this athletic director is a little disappointed with the committee. They may fine me $5 for saying that, but that's just the way I feel about it, because I really thought the way you guys finished the season on that tear against a really competitive group of Pac-12 teams should have been rewarded. But then again, and I get your thoughts on this, maybe the way you guys ended it in Boulder, first ever win up there for you and the other seniors. I mean, just walk me through the season, because it really had its ups and downs, but it was really a heck of a story.
Yeah, I mean, we came into this season after not having won a single Pac-12 game in 2017. And so the spring was a really rough time for us. We were kind of trying to find our identity. We were trying to work on our leadership and find where people fit within our group. And then this new group of freshmen came in, and we kind of had to start all over again, which is the case with every fall sport. And we finished non-conference maybe with 2-3 wins. I can't remember exactly. And obviously that's not the way that we wanted to start. And we'd lost heartbreakers like in the last 3-4 minutes of games.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
No, I don't think I've ever been on a team like that where we're in every game and it just comes down to the last 3 minutes and we lose every time. So really going into conference, it was like, well, we don't have anything to lose because we've lost so many games already. It's just we just have to prove ourselves.
Well, let me dig into that, because there are teams, and you've probably been around teams or seen teams that have kind of a path that they can choose when you lose all those games that way. And the one path is kind of pick up your stuff and let's go through the motions. But what impressed me so much is you guys took the opposite path, which was, no, we're going to dig in and go. So how do you think that happened? I mean, I'm assuming senior leadership and coaching and everything, but walk me through that.
I think one of the biggest things for me that I noticed was in the BYU game, we lost that game, obviously 3-2. It was a great game. But we were down 2-0 for a majority of that game.
That was a heck of a game.
Yeah, and when we scored that second goal, I think that kind of lit something in us. Like, okay, we can do this. Even though we ended up losing that game and continued to lose games after that, I think that kind of proved to us that, okay, we're good enough to get back into games, so now we just have to start winning them. So that's kind of, for me, what flipped the switch.
It's like a moment.
Yeah.
That's what you hear a lot about. There's these moments in seasons, and you seize them and you go. And again, I just think you need to be really commended for your leadership, for the team. And, again, disappointing about yesterday, but winning and having a chance to walk off as a winner is a really, really neat thing. Well, let's talk about you, because there's this other part of you, which is the off-the-field you, and you're incredible. You're obviously an incredible student here. Talk a little bit about what you're studying and what you think is next for you.
So I'm double majoring. I finished my first major, which is Human Development and Family Studies, with an emphasis in early childhood education this December. So I'm pretty close to finished with that. And then my second major is Elementary Education, which I have to wait until next fall to student teach. But right now, I'm kind of in this, I want to play professionally, so that will kind of determine when school is going to finish for me.
Wow, so you've got all your plans ahead for that. Kind of explain what it takes to jump into the professional space in women's soccer. What does one have to do?
I'm still learning myself. I don't know quite exactly what I have to do yet. I know that there's the option to enter the draft, which is most likely what I'm going to end up doing. and I could end up anywhere across the country. I would love to stay here and play for the hometown team, but I'm willing to go wherever the opportunity is.
Who do I call for that?
I don't know.
Tell me who to call. Mike's standing over there. Mike, you got a phone number for us? All right, good. Because if we can keep you around, which is kind of you, right? I mean, you grew up here, incredible high school career. Then you come here, which I think this is a theme with some of the athletes that I've spoken to on this podcast. Did you really have a choice? Because you have a lot of relatives that have Utah blood. Did you have a choice?
You know, I actually did. My family did a really good job staying neutral through my whole recruiting process. I was actually planning on going out of state. I wanted to get as far away from home as possible.
Interesting.
And then when it came down to the last couple schools, I realized that this was the place for me, and I wanted to be close to home, and my family could see me play, and I could see my little sisters grow up and all that.
Well, that's really, so, okay, that's interesting. I have a daughter. I have to think about this in the future. So they stayed quiet and let you make the decision. I need to try that because whatever I'm doing doesn't work sometimes. So then you get here and you explode, right? I mean, competitively. I mean, you scored, how many goals? I can't see my notes here. You scored so many goals. Matter of fact, you're going to leave here as one of our top 5 scorers. But you played defense this year, which I think had to do with some injuries. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I actually was a defender my freshman year as well before my knee injury. Came back and was a forward. And then this season, we had 2 of our, huge pieces of our back line go down with injury. And we played, I think, a game and a half without them. And Rich was just like, look, just in case, be ready to go on the back line because he knows that I know my stuff back there and knows that I'm capable of doing it. And then in the Washington game, we had to secure the lead because we were up 1-0. And that's when I moved back there, and I've been there ever since.
Have you ever played goalie?
No, that's the one place that I've never played.
I'm going to ask Rich if he ever had a thought. Of course, our goalie special here, but I bet you, knowing you and just in everything about your career, you probably could play goalie.
I don't know.
You probably could. Well, I really, really appreciate you sitting down with me today and talking through everything. And again, just incredible congratulations on everything you've accomplished here. You know, all you ask of student athletes is to come here and get after it in the classroom and certainly in competition. And I think you did all of that and way more. And thank you for your incredible leadership too, you know, digging out of last year and getting through this year. And I think you guys, especially the group that's leaving, the seniors, I think the stage has been set. And I think you probably feel this next year and the following year with the group behind you. You left that incredible legacy for us. So thank you so much. And again, give me the phone number of those folks over at the stand. I want to call them right when we're done. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And welcome back to the Here from Harlan podcast, along with Director of Athletics, Mark Harlan. I'm Mike Lagerstill. Thanks for joining us. And Mark, so great to catch up with Hailey Skolmosky. What a great career she's had. Just from Riverton, Utah, had a phenomenal high school career, and then came onto the college scene. And really back in 2016, just burst onto the scene as this Utah program went to the Sweet 16, had a great career. In fact, she's tied for 5th all-time in goals at Utah, and just a great individual.
She's terrific, and it's why I always say I enjoy talking to you, Mike, but my favorite part is talking to the student-athletes in this podcast, and just another incredible example of the kind of student-athletes that we get to be around on a daily basis. And incredible student, incredible athlete. I think most people that follow soccer will say her career just went by in a flash, but she's on to bigger and great things, whether it's on the field, which I think it will be, or certainly professional in her teaching career. So just great to always talk to our kids, but especially Hailey today.
Yeah, her family includes 5 Utah graduates, so the blood runs deep in that family for the Skolmoskys. So, again, great to catch up with Hailey Skolmosky during our podcast. All right, Mark, here we go. November is upon us. 2 home football games left. Also, the basketball teams get the regular season started this week. I know you're looking to make some improvements with the overall fan experience, and not just football, but basketball games. We'll kind of dive into both, but we had a consultant come in a few weeks back who sat down with our whole external staff. I was involved in that, and we talked about a lot of things that got real in terms of how do you really make this better. Don't be content with where you are or where you think you're going. We can do better, and I thought it was a really productive couple of days. What are some things you took away from our consultant visit, and what are you looking to do down the road to really improve the overall fan experience at football and basketball games?
Well, it's as simple as this. Folks are investing to come to our games, to have a great time, and we owe them the best possible experience, in this country. We know our student athletes have practiced all week. We know our coaches have worked in some cases 100+ hours a week. So as I've told the external staff, and certainly under Scott Cole's leadership as the deputy, we have to have that same kind of effort as it relates to how we produce a game. Expectations have never been higher in that regard, and that's the right thing to do. So we brought in a consultant who both Scott and I have worked with before. He's probably the nation's leader in coming in and studying a venue and saying, okay, these are the things you need to do, and these are the things you should think about. And some of those are hard choices, and some of those are easy things to do. But he just recently worked with the University of Texas and a lot of the things they're doing there. But he came in and spent, like you said, an entire couple days, and then that led into the USC game recently. And so we implemented some things that day that we had learned the days prior, and it was fun to get some tweets and some emails from fans who noticed and saw what we were trying to do. But the one thing that's really important for everyone to know is we're just not going to rest in this regard. We want it to be great, and we're going to work collaboratively with everybody. So in the kickoff meeting for this, we had the band leadership, we had the cheer leadership, we had the must leadership. We had all the various elements of the athletic department. We even had the football staff. And Jeff Rudy, our operations director for football, in there, because football has to have a big say in everything that we're doing. So I thought it was great, but I think the thing I would say to everybody listening is more to come. And we got a few things up our sleeve for the Oregon game, and then certainly into the BYU game. And then we'll have a chance to pull the car back into the garage and really work on elements to make it great. And you're going to see this effort kind of extended outside the football stadium, into the tailgate areas. I think there's some things we're not doing in the tailgate areas that are things that I think would be really fun. I'll give you an example of this. We got to get a kids area. We have to have a place for families to allow their kids to jump on things and be crazy and do all that stuff. And we've got the space, we've got the people to do it. And so we're going to put all those things together for next year. Last I'll say on this, now that we're in the arena season full bore with the basketball starting, we're also going to be really looking at different things we can do there. And the consultant will help us with basketball too. I just want everyone to know it's really got my attention. We're so blessed with how many fans come, and it's our obligation to give them the best experience we can. We got all the great people here to do it, and we're going to come together and we're going to get it done. Yeah, two things that stood out to me when Guido came in. He said, I've worked with schools like Texas and Penn State. They draw. It's not getting people there. It's improving the experience when they do get there. It's an effort for people to leave their homes, park, or get to the venue somehow, and invest, 3 to 4 hours to go to an event. You want them to walk away feeling like, I had to be there. Sitting at home in front of my big screen with a cooler to the side and the bathroom down the hall wasn't good enough. I had to be there to be a part of it, and I think he really understands that's a great point. I mean, if you look at football, we are so blessed in the fact that we're sold out. We have a waiting list, but that's even more so why we have to be great at this. We can't rest. We can't be complacent. And remember, all of this gets back to winning. Because that kind of environment can keep the other team, basically on their heels, and that's what you want, and that's that gets that whole definition of winning here. We want to be the very best in game enhancement. We want to help our team win and have everyone go home and say, boy, I was a part of that. Absolutely. All right, basketball starting up as well. We mentioned that the men open at home Thursday against Maine. That will happen before this podcast is available, but some enhancements there as well. I talked to Grant Robertson for the marketing staff, and he said we've got a lot of things going on. There's going to be a red alert party 10 minutes before every game. The lights will go down. The students are going to be more involved. In fact, they've got a pregame tailgate area for them exclusively with free food and some giveaways. And he said, early on, we're going to close the upper bowl off. We want to get all the fans down that lower bowl and really help enhance the atmosphere for some of those early contests. If you have season tickets upper bowl, we'll move you down there to better seats. And really has said, we want to focus on students, but also just everyone in general. We've had this great run with basketball under Larry Kristoviak. We want to help the fans be a part of that, and they've got some good things going there as well as we enter this upcoming basketball season. Yeah, well, I've told the marketing staff I want to be the best we possibly can be in there. Let's pick it up. Let's do all these things like we talked about earlier. And to the point of just the basketballs going, we got women starting this week. We got the men starting this week. We had the great exhibition week last week. Really impressed with the things we did with the Salt Lake elementary school kids. We had 3,000 kids in here with costumes. That was unbelievable. Running around doing trick-or-treating. I went out there. Whoa, I thought my notes said 300, but someone forgot to put a zero on it. It was unbelievable how many kids were here. And that's the kind of creative, innovative things that we want to do. And so, again, I encourage everyone to come out, check out our basketball teams this year. They both worked really, really hard. They both have challenging schedules. They've really put some games out there that I think are great. And we look forward to seeing everybody here at the Huntsman Center.
Yep, November, always a challenging month. It's maybe your busiest of the year, but also one of the most fun. And football in a good spot to close it out strong. Mark, thanks for the time. We'll see you in about a month.
All right, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, that will do it for the Hear From Harlan podcast. For Mark Harlan, I'm Mike Leisel. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, so long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Subscribe and listen all year long as we keep you up to date on the latest information around the Utah Utes and Athletics Director Mark Harlan.